Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to the next installment in the DIY drop-off and or river tank build. In this video, as you can see, I've already delivered the stand. I'm going to reassemble it all, and if you notice on the ends there's pieces of tape with numbers. It's very important this goes back together in the same order as I took it apart in. It's all been leveled. It all needs to be, well, it all needs to stay leveled. And this is the best way of ensuring that, because, I mean, any of these two, like these two pieces here, you can flip them both around and it'll all still go together properly, but it may be just ever so slightly less level than it would have been otherwise. And because this tank, well, you'll understand once it's finished being built, it needs to be really, really level. I don't know if I can emphasize that enough, because it's going to be, this is going to be a rimless tank, so it's going to be filled right to the very top. Well, obviously not the very, very top, but there's only going to be like a 1/4 inch between the top of the water and the top of the glass. That way it gives the illusion that the water is just standing there, and it looks very cool that way. But unfortunately, it's also very unforgiving. If there's any amount of lack of level, either in end to end or side to side, it's going to show up and it's going not to look proper. So, like I said, it's very important. As you can tell, there's a bit of choppiness here. This is an office. Lots of people are coming and going, and all that, all those conversations and people coming and going had to be edited out. I apologize for that, but I think you're still going to get the gist of everything that's happening here. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below, and I will try and answer them as best as I can. There you go. It's all nice and assembled. It's now time to move on to putting the tank together. If you remember from video 1, the two pieces of the tank or two of the tanks, I should say, are already assembled. So what I'm going to do now is place those onto the stand, make sure everything fits properly. And also then I need to align everything so that I can assemble the joining tank, which is the one that's going to be across that span in the middle. Those pieces of wood you see there are 1/4 inch plywood. They're going to be the underlay for this tank, and it's more than enough for this style of build. The stand is extremely sturdy. It's actually way overbuilt than it needs to be. And well, that person used to walk by is my son. He's going to help me build, so he didn't need to be edited out, just in case you're wondering. What I've done here is I've loosened the brackets that hold the tank in place. They need to be out of the way so I can lift the tank over, and then they will be reattached. And if you remember from my 175-gallon reef tank build, there will be a silicone buffer between the tank and the metal. And here you go. Those suction cups you see there are extremely useful for this sort of job. It need to be placed properly, and it need to be, placed gently. So it's very crucial to have a good handle to hang on to. I bought those quite a while ago now, but they've been indispensable. They're quite capable each of lifting over 200 pounds, and obviously that little tank doesn't weigh anywhere near that. So what I'm going to do here is just temporarily just hand tighten those brackets up, just to make sure as I line this up, the tank has to be properly lined inside that little hole that's created by those 4 brackets. And there we go. We're going to put on the second tank. This is the deeper one, a little bit heavier, but it's nice that it's also on the lower stand. It makes it much easier to put it in place. So again, this will also be fiddled with for a while, and I will get it so that it sits properly. And also, it will, once it's there, I have to incrementally adjust things. It's very difficult to explain. That's why I'm kind of hemming and hawing here. You see the tank that's right against the back wall. That tank needs to be properly aligned first, and then glued into place, because if you see the hole on the far left, that's where the the input for the tank's going to be. That needs to be installed. That all needs to be glued properly, And then once that's all set, I can adjust everything else so that this piece that you see here, which is the bottom for the center tank, fits properly, it's properly level, and doesn't have any overhang. Now after I set all this up, I realized I didn't have a lot of free play. So what I'm doing here is, this is a 1.5 inch elbow, and to make it give me a little bit extra room, I'm cutting down the elbow and I'm cutting down the insert male piece. You'll see that in a second here as well. That, by cutting these down, it gives me an extra inch when I assemble them and glue them all together. So it gives me a little extra bit of free play between the tank and the door. So yeah, the one on the left is if I hadn't done anything, and the one on the right I have adjusted so that I get as much extra room as possible. So that way, you know, I said, I'm in a tight spot here, so I want to make sure everything just, I don't have any issues with anything, especially people going by the tank on the door side. So here we are back at the office. I'm going to slide the tank out again. I'm going to silicone this piece into place, and then what I need to do after that is I have to, once it's silicone, I'm going to let it cure, and then I'm going to properly center this one aquarium, and then use silicone on those brackets that I showed you, and then get that perfectly adjusted into place and let that cure, and then that will be my anchor point, and everything will be referenced from that. So once that's all done, what I'll do is I'll come back and then we'll start working on setting up the other two tanks. Oh, one thing I haven't mentioned yet is one of the criteria for building this tank now instead of later. There's a possible move coming up. This tank needed to be assembled in a way that it can be disassembled. So you'll see a gap there. That's a 1/8 inch gap. Normally I go with about a 1/16 inch of silicone there, but it's really difficult to fit a razor blade between the two sheets of glass. So I had to build these two brackets. And these brackets hold that tank up, hold that piece up nice and level, and also not touching. So I can fit a razor blade between those two. Now this is obviously not the standard way of making an aquarium, but because the middle tank is the shallowest, there's very little water pressure. Like I said, there's very little head of water, and it won't be an issue at all. Now, unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to record the installation of this particular piece because it was an exceptionally busy day at the office there, and I just didn't have the option of setting up my equipment and blocking the road and not being able to have people come in. So it's pretty much the same as all the other pieces. The only difference is when I put it down, it rested on these two brackets instead of the actual piece of glass on either side. And other than that, it's identical. And then again, here it's cured now, and all I do is I just twist the two pieces out, and they're no longer in the way, and we're all good. The only other thing I did as well is I left, you can see a little bit on the edges there, I left extra silicone. There's going to be a lot of rock work in this tank, and I want to make sure the edge was protected. And the only way to ensure that really was just to put a little extra bit of silicone there, and then we're good. And now what I'm going to do here is I've already attached the piece in the back. You'll notice the piece in the back is a little bit longer than it should be. Unfortunately, when they cut glass, they don't cut glass like you cut wood or anything else. It's scored and broken and then ground, and then what happens is you end up with their tolerances, I guess I should say, are not the same as I would like them to be, and that one turned out to be a little bit longer. But the nice thing is because I ordered two of these, one of them was perfect, and that's going to be the front piece where everyone can see, and then the back piece, that's all going to be covered by decorations and whatnot anyway, so it won't be a problem at all. So what I'll do now is just place this piece down and then press it together. There's very little in the way of pressure on this piece at all, like I said, so there actually really isn't even any point in taping it at all, which is kind of bizarre. Most of the time I tape everything, but then once the guide tapes, or edging tapes I should say, are removed, I'll just peel them off, and it's all good to go. There's like I said, this thing is very level. You'll notice that I haven't actually held a level up to this at all. I actually have. I just didn't want to show it to you. I didn't want to spoil the little reveal at the end. So you'll have to wait till the end to see actually how level it is. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. The next video will be me assembling the filtration system. It's the same as the DIY 175 tank reef build I did. The only difference is it's got lava rock instead of coral, so if you want to see that, please watch that video. So otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.